propose revisions to the COVID-19 mitigation plan. And if we could open this is a discussion from the members of the board. If we could open that with Mr. Wingate, please.
Thank you, Alan. I want to take the chance to thank you to you for this opportunity tonight, and thank you for Ms. Graham and your staff for welcoming us to the school board, and it's been a pretty easy process, and so thank you to you. Thank you to Ida and Karen and Angela for your welcome to the school board. It's an honor to serve in our community, so thank you for that. I asked to present this tonight, and I wanted to provide an overview, and I was going to be real quick. I'm going to ask your indulgence just for 4 or 5 minutes, because we really grappled with the comments tonight, the kind of comments that that we've heard before, and take seriously all these comments. And I want you to know that I think the board have done that, and I want to clearly explain the reasoning behind what I propose tonight, and some of the details about that plan. I think it's just about time to really conduct a comprehensive review of our COVID policy. We've been at this for 2 years. We've learned a lot, right? It's been a long road. We have a lot of resources we never had before, and we have a lot of data about what works, what doesn't work, things like that. And so I think, and we have a new governor who's made a lot of promises about changes. We have a new school board who is very clear, kind of what our positions were, I think. And so I think because of those things, I think it's time to do nearly time. Governor's plan will lay out a lot of things that will help us to pull that out. So I hope and think we will in the coming weeks really have that comprehensive review of that plan. And so I hope we do that in the time. That's not tonight. What I propose tonight is just one thing, and it's I propose this for the good of our children, and because I think it's the right thing to do. What I propose tonight and urge the board to acknowledge is to give students, teachers, and staff an individual exception from the current requirement to wear a mask in our schools. I urge this to take this step now for the following 3 reasons. First, for parental rights and authority. When I ran for this office, I said again and again that parental rights and authority would be the foundation for any decision I made. I was serious about that. Surveys, the results of the recent election, and input from many, many Madisonians tell me that the majority of parents in Madison County want to decide for themselves if wearing a mask is good or not good for their child. I think we violate parental rights and authority each day we continue this universal masking mandate without any exception option for parents. I don't want to wait to fix that. Second, I think masking is not something we take lightly. For the last 2 years, I've been a teacher in high schools where masking is universally required. In my experience, and in my talking to lots of people, it really can and sometimes does damage the learning environment and the building relationships that are so important to our children. I've seen lots and lots of children who feel isolated, cut off, and anxious, partly because of mask wearing. The U.S. Surgeon General just last month declared an emergency in terms of mental health for American children. I've seen it again and again in high school students in the last couple of years. And those are high school students. I can't imagine how younger students and teachers of younger students handle that with masks all day, to be honest. I acknowledge that we should take not masking seriously also, for the reason that were good comments today. We want our community to be healthy and our schools to be safe, and we have a responsibility to support that goal. While the latest version of this virus seems milder than former versions, and it continues to not pose a serious risk to the overwhelming majority of children, it does seem to be pretty easy to pass to others, and maybe masks may help us to avoid that. If we believe masks are effective, maybe our responsibility as citizens may lead us with the community ahead of our individual freedom to choose. So yes, masking is a complicated decision, I think. I think most of us can see that. So I think the key question is who should make that complicated decision? It has to balance different risks in physical and mental health, consider individual freedom and community responsibility you all talked about tonight. Should it be the state, the school board, or parents and adult individuals? I want to say something to parents. Parents, I do not know and I do not love your child like you do. I like your child. I want their very best. I'm currently coaching my daughter's basketball team, and it's so fun to be with them. It's a joy to practice with them. But I will never love them like you do. I will never know them like you do. And that's true for the teachers and leaders in our school, no matter how great teachers they are. That's how it should be, because I'm not their parent. I believe that you know far better than me, or this board, or the state, what is best in terms of the masking of your child. So I want you to have that God-given right and responsibility not mine, to make that very personal decision. Third, this exception allows everyone to choose what is right for them. It's a great American tradition. It honors those who choose to wear a mask. It honors those who think it is right to not wear one. I think it's the American and the Madison way. We love both our community and we value our rights and freedoms. This proposal allows us to do both. Finally, I wanted to mention a couple of practical details to the exception I propose. It provides for accommodation if it can be reached with those who have a documented medical condition that be put at risk by this exception option. School leaders will work on a one-on-one basis with both students and staff who seek that accommodation or have concerns about this. Second, if people do wear masks, I think the school should provide those that are most effective. So this proposal includes direction that we ask the superintendent to provide free N95 or similar high-quality masks to those who want them. Third, recently the school system adopted a shorter quarantine period, which I applaud. I think the best thing to do is keep our children in school, and so I applaud the superintendent for that shorter quarantine period. This mask exception would not apply to that 10-day period for those individuals who have to wear a mask during that period. Fourth, my proposal makes the parent or this is important, makes the parent or the adult staff member both the requester and the grantor of the exception. We are not creating more bureaucracy with this exception option. No staff member needs to or can approve or deny the exception. All we ask is that parents write a one-sentence note saying that you, as the parent or guardian, you authorize your child to not wear a mask and you sign it. As soon as the parent does that, the child has an exception. The same goes for an adult staff member. They don't need to write a sentence. Simply by not wearing a mask, we assume they've asked for and received automatically that exception. And last piece of the details, just sort of as an awareness, in this provision I include something that says we would offer a similar exception if any COVID vaccine mandate was required for the very same reasons. I don't think it's going to happen with the new state administration, but I've heard from numerous concerned parents and staff about that worry, and I wanted the board to go on record about that we would give them an exception also for any COVID vaccine mandate. I'll end with this. I don't make this proposal lightly. I hear the comments that are good comments that are made tonight on both sides of the issue. I realize there are strong and sincerely held feelings on all sides, and I respect those who think differently. COVID isn't easy. It's not easy. I've considered others' input, and have included some of that in this proposal. I really want this to be acceptable to as many as will get on board with this. But at the end of the day, we must make a decision about what we must think is right. And I will always seek to lift up parental and individual freedoms while balancing what's best for our children. I think this proposal, this exception to make mask wearing optional for children and staff members does that. I urge the board to support it effective January 18th, 2022. Thank you.
Now that we've heard from Mr. Wingate, and he has done a lot of work on this, it's our opportunity to discuss it as a board. So right now, the floor is open from board members to ask questions and also for clarification or any proposed changes that they might want to make to Mr. Wingate's proposal.
I have one suggestion for it. I mean, I've already asked for clarification, so I think I'm pretty clear. I have one suggestion, and that's to make the changes effective when the laws and regulations are in effect. I think the January 18th effective date would probably put us out of compliance with laws and regulations. So I don't think we can afford to take risks with those consequences. I don't think we should take risks to be fined. So my suggestion is just add one sentence that says this policy is effective to the extent allowed by applicable laws and regulations.
Good question. When we talked through this and had input, thought about that. And that's why I crafted the way I did, that this is an exception to a policy, to a plan. And so I think we should stick with the date of January 18th. I think the chances of a fine are so minimal because of the new administration that's coming in. The new governor has pledged to end these mandates. And to be perfectly honest, I think it sends a sign to the parents in Madison County who's in a survey said like 70% they wanted their children not to be in masks. I think we send a sign to the parents that we care more about the children, their mental health, and parental rights than about a small risk of a fine. So I hear you, I understand what you mean, but my take is that we stick with the January 18th date.
I have a comment about that too. As far as picking the date, I don't have a suggested date for this to go into effect, but I do know that our superintendent has to have the time to speak to the principals. She has to have the time to meet with people and talk about what this looks like for them. And it does take a little bit of time to do that. It also gives the parents time to sit down with their children and to come to some agreement with their children and also with the teachers so that we are all on the same page. And I am proposing that we do put a different time on it. I don't know if the 18th is enough time, but I also think that it probably is enough time because we've been discussing this in the past. So my recommendation is we go with the 18th, but that's open for everybody. Ms. Collier, do you have any more for your discussion?
I don't. I think the 18th is fine, as long as Ms. Graham has enough time to communicate with principals. And teachers, principals have time to communicate with teachers and so forth and so on. So that gives us a full business day tomorrow, and there's no school Monday, and the weekend for families to make their decision. So I think the 18th is fine.
I hesitate to speak up because I know it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. I really do appreciate every single person that spoke at the microphone. Thank you. Obviously, I've been up to the microphone before too, and it's for somebody that's not a public speaker, it is nerve-wracking, to be honest, speaking in front of a bunch of people, something that you believe in. And we have a lot of people that believe in something on both sides of this situation. So if we remove feelings and emotion from everything that we're dealing with, we have to look at facts, logic. And the fact of the matter is, the simple fact of the matter is there is zero verifiable evidence right now that a mask will keep you from getting COVID. There is no study that's been performed that's proven that a mask will keep you from getting COVID. I'm not saying you're wrong for wearing a mask. You certainly can't. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings for telling you that your mask don't work. I'm just stating the facts. Another thing is vaccines. Yes, the lady mentioned about the polio vaccine. When the polio vaccine came out for polio, it was because children were getting polio and parents were taking their kids to get the vaccine to keep the kids from getting polio. We have a different situation now, where it seems the youngest folks in our county, in our state, and in our country are the least affected, from COVID. Therefore, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to force the least affected people to do something that their parents don't want them to do. If I had my way, the masks would be optional today after we leave this meeting. But I do understand what Mrs. Allen mentioned about Mrs. Graham and needing to let the principals know so that they can talk to the teachers can talk to the parents, and the parents can talk to the kids, and I understand that. It makes perfect good sense. So I am absolutely on board with Mr. Wingate's exception to the policy. I appreciate his work put into it, and look forward to getting on with school.
Ms. Ms. Graham, will that give you enough time if we have it on the date of the 18th? That will give you enough time to do what you need to do to make sure that everybody's on board? She says yes. So at this particular point, I think we need to, if there's any more, well, let me stop here. Does anybody else have any more comments to make before we move on to a vote?
Ms. Allen, for the purposes of our office and working with quarantine, can I circle back, Mr. Wingate, really quickly? No matter what you choose, if you're choosing the shortened quarantine and you're coming out 5 days, that 6-day period, you must wear a mask if you're going to be in school.
Yes, like we talked about yet, that would, in lieu of being in quarantine, wear that mask, required to wear the mask. You don't have the option for those 5 days. That should be to come to school, which is a better thing than being at home. So yes, they can wear that, should be required to wear the mask those 5 days. And after that 10th day, the option is theirs again.
I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you, and that's another thing that we do need to let our public know about. The quarantine number of days has changed. So that'll be something on top of everything else. If there's no more discussion, I will ask for a motion.
If I word this correctly, I'd make a motion to adopt Mr. Wingate's policy exception for the mitigation policy.
Do you have the 18th in? What's that part of what you said?
It was not in the written part, but I read that into my comments just now.
So it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt Mr. Wingate's amendments to our mitigation plan to include optional. Exception, thank you. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. I tell you what, let's do. Let's change this up a little bit. Let's go to a roll call vote on this. Please, Ms. Patterson. Aye.
Aye.
No.
Absolutely aye.
Motion carries. Next thing on the agenda is our school board retreat. Our purpose for doing this is to select a date for our retreat. The proposed date right now is Saturday, February 5th, 2022, from 8:30 to 11:30. And if everybody could look at your calendars, please, and see if that will work.
Yeah.
That's Saturday, February the 5th.
It works for me.
Yep. Looks like it works for everybody, so I'd entertain a motion to approve Saturday, February the 5th, from 8:30 to 11:30 for our school board retreat.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the school board will have our school board retreat on Saturday, February the 5th. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Do we know where?
School board office?
School
It
board
will be
office.
in the school board office. Our next section is the section that we enjoy the most, where we ask each of our members to tell us what they